When we're trying to teach our kids how to self-regulate their emotions, meaning they become dysregulated. You say no, they can't have something. Every time they hear the word no, they go from 0 to 100. They start to fall apart. A tantrum ensues, maybe a big argument, maybe it's anger. It shows up differently for every child depending on the developmental stage that they're in. So now you see all this dysregulation. They can't manage the emotions that are coming through because they don't like the outcome. And all we want to do as parents at that point is get them to calm down. It's the number one question that I get over and over. So there are two things that kids absolutely need when we're trying to create an environment that is conducive with this idea of gaining the ability to self-regulate. So if you've watched my other videos, you know that I talk a lot about being regulated first as the parent. So that's key and that's first and foremost. But beyond that, I want to share these other two tips because they're critical to the process. If this is resonating with you guys, I'm hosting a free 60-minute workshop next Tuesday over Zoom. The link is in my profile. You can sign up there. I'm going to share with you the emotional regulation tools for parents and kids. I'm going to unpack more of this in greater depth and more detail so that you guys have strategies to implement today. But here's what I want you to think about. The two things you need are to create an environment that is loving and firm. So what does that really mean? Loving, I think almost all parents check that box. We get that. We know how to love our kids. We know how to attend and we know how to shower them with attention and make sure they feel important and significant. We almost prioritize our kids to a fault to some extent. It's the firm piece that I want to focus on today. And what does that actually mean? That means setting consistent, clear, predictable boundaries. When we have predictable boundaries in place, our kids feel safe. And as a result, when they can predict the environment, when they feel a sense of safety and they know what to expect, it is 10 times easier for them to self-regulate. Let's think about it in the context of you, the adult. When you are in an unknown space or when you are in an environment where you can't really call it, you don't really know how another person is reading the conversation, you don't really know what they're thinking, you're kind of second guessing what's going on, you're never quite sure what's going to happen from day to day in terms of how people around you respond. You are more on edge. You are more willing to sort of test something to see how far can I go. You will become more dysregulated because there is nowhere for you to really anchor. Kids need us to be their anchor. So yes, be loving. Be the parent that they need you to be in all the ways. That's important. And I know you guys are doing an amazing job at that. It's the other side of it. Set clear boundaries. Don't look for agreement. Often when we set a boundary, we want our kids to know why we're setting it. We want our kids to agree with the boundary that we're setting. We don't need to do that. When we get into that place of starting to explain sort of the rationale behind why we said no or why they can't have something, it starts to suggest to our kids that we're actually very anxious about